רק משפט אחד בעברית, כי ההרצאה הולכת להיות באנגלית, אז תצטרכו להתמודד עם המבטא הפחות מוצלח מדניאל שהיה לפני, אבל זה מה יש. So, this session going to be held in English. Yeah. The only fun part is that I can say, good morning, Tel Aviv. Shh. People, get in. אני אתן לכם דקה אם אתם רוצים לעבור לאביתר אלוש בהול בי. Okay, let's get started. אני לא מדבר עברית יותר, אני יודע שזה מוזר, גם לי, כל החבר'ה. יש? זה וידאו? זה לא סילסון? Okay, good morning everyone. Let's start with a quick question. Any Angular developers in the crowd today? 1, 2. Yeah. Not anymore. Angular in the past. That's the title for my session. Is there anyone here that actually read the description? Raise your hand. I want to know if I'm coming. All right, just few people. Not a big deal. Disclaimer, in this session, there's not going to be no AI. Yeah. There's not going to be any new API at all. No external libraries. This year, I decided to focus on, well, just React, because that's ReactNext, and you know, let's do something interesting. I'm sure that most of you are familiar with this say, give a man a fish, blah, 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 feed him for a day, teach him how to fish, he will be satisfied for his, you're familiar with this, yeah? Like תן לבן אדם חכה, and he will be a שבע. טוב, אני שונא דגים, I hate fish. Please remember this statement, that's my agenda for today. We don't need to skip the fundamentals in React for shiny abstractions. Yes, I know there's a new version of React. If there's some people that you know that seen me before, or even maybe we had a chance to do some training together, you're already familiar with my agenda. I mean, if you're working with a specific tool, whatever it's React or any other library, make sure to learn the fundamentals very, very good, and then you will get superpowers. And today, hopefully, I will be able to deliver this message from a different perspective. I work a lot with the community. I've got the privilege to work with students, with juniors, and this question is the most, I think, the most common one that I get. Nir, we've seen you in meetups, conferences, blah, blah, blah. It seems that you know how to work with React very, very, very well. I want to do the same, but I don't have time. So today I'm going to expose my technique of how I learn, up until today, any new library, any new framework, any new technology. And the way that I do it is very, very simple. Instead of practicing, I don't know, lit code or some standalone exercises, whatever it is, every week I pick up one API, I make sure that I learn it deeply, and then something very, very interesting happens. So let's start the journey. Use ref. So I decided that I want to make sure exactly how use ref in React works. And I want to share this journey with you. So let's close this thing. Sorry, very, very, very unprofessional. All right, for the live, what? Sorry, being unprofessional. We're going to go through some code. So let's do the usual routine. Open up a VS Code, and then close it, and open a professional IDE. And When I started my journey to learn how useRef work, I'm going to make it a little bit larger in a second. I discovered this. Basically, useRef just holding an object on reusing useState, but instead of putting a value, we're holding an object, which is a mutable object, and then we can mute it, the current key, and then we get useRef, which I think it's cool. And then I continue my research, and I ask myself, well, now I know how to make sure to maintain or to mutate the value within React closure without affecting the state. If that's the case, let's try to implement my own useMemo, using my own implementation of useRef. So this is my own version of useMemo. I'm using useRef in order to hold a value without affecting re-rendering. During this research, I learned that in JavaScript, there are some very, very unpopular or some API that sometimes we miss. For example, the object is. Who's familiar with object is? Just out of, cool, not all of you. So one benefit, I started to implement my own useMemo, and I learned about object is and another wonderful methods that exist in vanilla JavaScript. So I become a little bit better in JavaScript. But that's not the whole story. I implemented my own useMemo. Well, you get a function, let's call it a factory, and you've got a dependency list, and then you compare the dependencies to make sure if you want to run it again. But technically speaking, there's a hidden pattern within it, which is called memoize. Great pattern, so along the way, you can learn about a very popular technique when you need to memoize a value. Now, all of you working with React, yeah, who's working with React more than 5 years? Raise your hand, I wanna know. 50% of this crowd. Does this implementation look familiar somehow? You get a function, you've got a dependency list. It is, yeah? So by implementing useMemo, technically, you're implementing your own use effect. So we get a deep understanding of how it works, which is very, very simple. The exact same pattern, but this time, we do the same comparison, and then we decide whether we want to run this callback or not. The way that I teach React today, that's exactly this. Learn how to use useState, and then understand ref, then understand memoize, and then you've got the whole API in front of your face. And when you look at this implementation of use effect, it looks very, very familiar. You get a callback, dependencies, and then you decide whether you want to execute this function or not. So if you understand how use effect work, you already know how use callback work. And if you look into React source code, you found out that use callback is, technically speaking, just returning useMemo with callback and dependencies. This entire project with all these examples is already public on GitHub, so if you just wanna play with it, but I highly encourage you to just pick one hook, one API, just for the fun and the learning process, and try to implement it by yourself. So if I go back to my slides, where's the clicker? Here it is. If I go back to my slides, so by exploring useRef, I discovered that that's actually useState. I learned how to implement useMemo. I learned about the method that I wasn't familiar with, and most of you wasn't familiar with object is. We're always running to libraries, and back then it was Lodash. I need to compare something, and there's probably an algorithm that's doing this better than just plain JavaScript. And we learn about memoization, and then we learn about implement use effect, and then we understand how use callback work. And if you look carefully at this slide, just by exploring or try to implement yourself one hook, you're already pretty much familiar with 1, 2, 3, 4 React APIs, memoize, and objects. Familiar with the pub/sub pattern, state management, Redux and friend? It's even, well, it's ancient. This pattern is the foundation of design patterns. And when I looked at this pattern, the one thing that I thought about is, what about context? Context in React seems kind of. Well, it's not a big deal to implement your own use ref, but can I actually try to challenge myself and implement use context? And when you think about it, what is use context? You've got a tree of components, tree of objects, and when something happens, these objects need to react or to re-render. So I went back to the code and I asked myself, can I implement use context? And then during this journey, I learned that context in React is technically introducing an object that holds some kind of, you can call it a store. There is a value, there are subscribers, and every time I want to register under use context, I just subscribe with a callback to this provider. Again, I'm going to share this code with you, but my point is that by, again, going deeper into React, you kind of get a deep understanding how it works without taking a 20 hours course on the front-end masters or like digging into the docs, just by sitting down. Now, if I was you right now, I would ask myself, well, you might hopefully having some good time right now and learning some new stuff and maybe get a little bit inspired, but what's the point? So yeah, by digging into APIs, try to implement it by myself, that's nice, but what can I do with it? I mean, except, being better with React, understand how it works, expand my knowledge. How can I take it into more practical place? So let's try to do something together. I want to show you how to take this learning technique step by step, implementing by yourself, to gain some real superpowers. Because the bottom line is that eventually, when you wear the hat of a front-end developer and you use a library for building UI, your job is to build UI. I mean, forget about everything else. The bottom line, tomorrow at the office, I'm going to get some UI that I'm going to need to implement with React. So yeah, great. I know how it works, but can I do something very, very surprising with this knowledge? Let's take the same journey together. So this is today's menu. I want to talk about symbols. I want to talk about promises. And I want to talk about a specific API in React called Portal. Technically speaking, from React DOM. But before I start, who used a portal in React before this talk? If you look around, I'll tell you, all right? It's at least, most of the audience here. If you never heard about Portal, Portal is an API, we're going to see it in action in a second, that enable you to take one React element and render it under another root or outside of the React component tree. Great for overlays, models, tooltips. But let's take it a step backward. Who's familiar with symbols? In JavaScript, raise your hand, don't be shy. Symbols. Great. Just few people. Symbol in JavaScript, which is part of JavaScript, it's an API that enables you to create I want to call it a unique string. Let's simplify it. And if you use this symbol, and if you use it as a secret key, only if you hold a reference to exact same symbol that was created, you can actually use some API. It was a little bit complicated explanation, but we see it in action. I want to talk today about a JavaScript API called Symbol4. Symbol4 enabled me to register a symbol, some unique key, globally. What it's got to do with React. So hopefully, in this point of time, all of us already familiar with the concept. We already heard about it, explored it, and did something with it. We know that eventually React components are just JavaScript objects. But if React components are just JavaScript objects, it means that we've got a security issue, possibly. Because if it's just plain JavaScript object, I can easily recreate them and then hack React. So when you explore the source code a little bit, you found out what I'm going to do now. I'm going to do an inspect element and just do a bunch of console log. I'm going to show you the code that you understand what you're going to see. Wait a second. Here you go. All right. I'm going to create. Here we go. I'm going to create an element. I'm within React, so it's JSX. And then I'm going to console log this element so we can explore it. So if you did it before, you find out that, yeah, React component eventually, it's an object. But if you look carefully, there's like a property that starts with $, which is typeof. And the typeof is symbol React transitional element, which means that React is tagging the objects that represent components with this special, I don't want to say private because in JavaScript it's accessible, but with a symbol, which means that I can't create React components just as plain objects without using JSX, because if I want to do so, I need to grab a reference to this specific symbol. Without it, I can't create it. And this is for security, because you can't create these objects out of JSON. Interesting. So we learned something about these symbols. Now, if using the symbol for, it means that I can create some symbols that I can access without React. Let me explain what I'm talking about. Let's say that now that I understand that there is a symbol, there might be some symbols that exposed to me, that React registered and enabled me to work with. I want to go to this example, portal. And I want you to focus on these lines from line 10. This is the fully working create portal API that I recreated without JSX. What you see here is a completely valid React element as an object. And I was able to do it because some keys are available for me. So I can create an object. I can use symbol for to type this object as React portal, and that's it. Now I can take this exact code, use it as a portal, and it works without JSX. Was it clear enough? Or it's too quiet here, so there's two options. You know what? Even if it wasn't that clear, I want you to focus on two things. First of all, React components are not just, they are plain objects, but there is something extra. This typeof, $typeof, which is a JavaScript symbol. That's the one thing that I want you to remember. You can do your research later on, now that you've got I open up the door. Now you can go away. All right? That's the one thing that I want you to know. Second, learn about symbol in JavaScript, and specifically symbol for. Third thing, I can access these symbols. If I want to create React components without JSX, I can use this symbol for in react.portal exactly like react.elements, exactly like React transitional element are available for me. So it's a symbol that registers on something that we can say it's global. That's not exactly global. But again, well, great. We learned about something about JavaScript. We learned something about React internals. Why? Where it's become practical. Who've seen symbol for the first time? Remind me. Few people. Cool. All right. Before we get to the surprise, let's talk about promises. Promises are, I think it's kind of boring today because we already use promises for a lot of years. Yeah, not a big deal. what can be new about promises? I want to tackle another thing in React. I want to talk about the more complicated API kind of, which is basically suspense. What does suspense actually does? I can wrap an async loaded component with suspense, and then the JSX, this part, I'm going to have this nice element as a fallback, and only when this component is fully available for me, then React is going to be render it. Today, with this new hook called use, I can create some async API and then wrap it with suspense. And then you've got within your JSX places where just waiting for something async to be completed. Now, I've seen this API and I say, well, looks like very, very complicated. I want to learn how it works. And I found something very surprising that I want to share with you. Try catch. Most of the time, we throw errors. In React, we throw promises. Is there anyone here ever throw a promise? One, two, maybe people that really got into it. So the whole thing about suspense and error boundaries, which is kind of suspense, is that they catch promises that you throw. With this knowledge, I can go ahead and implement my own API that work with suspense. So, look carefully. I created this function, create resource. Nothing fancy here, all right? Forget about all the TypeScript all around. It's in its core, it's straightforward. Create resource, I'm creating a promise. You will deliver the function, the promise for me. I'm kind of trying to resolve this promise. And then I throw the results. If I throw this promise, suspend will catch it. If the status is error, and I'm going to throw the result, the error boundary will catch it. So with few lines of straightforward JavaScript, I'm able, it's very nice that you take pictures, but you get all the code. So if you want to take a picture, that's fine, just let me know, then take another one. Let's do it. Now it's valuable. Yeah. So now I'm able to do this. Look, create a user profile using my resource, loading a user, and interact with React Suspense natively. I want you to look at this. Don't worry about this bunch of code that you're seeing here. It's not important. It's available for you. I want you to focus on this part. Here's my user profile component that I build. With understanding that I can throw promises and suspense will catch it, wrapped with suspense, and error boundary wrapper. And then I released myself from, well, I want to use suspense, but in order to use suspense, I need to use this use hook, which I'm not fully understand how it works, or I'm going to have to lazy load a component that's doing something async, because suspense is great, but there's like a bunch of other APIs that I need to know all around it. No, I don't. Once I understand that if I throw a promise, suspense will catch it, that's all I need in order to create my own tiny implementations, fully production ready. It's not a hack, it's just understanding how it works. But that's not enough, because again, I think it's interesting. A lot of things to learn, not just about React, but also about JavaScript and some techniques that, personally, I wasn't familiar with this technique. I never thought about throwing a promise. That was like something new for me. But I'm not 100% okay with it. I want to take all of this knowledge and do something that no one else has done before, which is a very bold statement, yeah? Let's talk about it. I build these nice applications for video, commenting, whatever it is. It's got basically 3 parts. There is this nice video player right here in this window. There is a play and stop. So I can play the video. And if I want to make some notes, I can click the Take Snapshots, and this component just catches the time code, and then I can put some comments here. So I can take another snapshot and take another comment. Straightforward, something that you might probably want to implement in some point of time because you're building some kind of something like this. 3 different parts, you've got the controls, you've got a video, you've got the comments. But I've got a problem with this single-page application that you're seeing right now, which is very, very uncomfortable. Let's say that this feature was like a real feature. I'm building a video commenting feature. In my workspace, I've got at least 2 screens. This is uncomfortable. I'm trying to squeeze everything into one screen. So what I really, really want to do, I want to take this. Let's make some room. Because I'm working with more than one screen, I want to take this exact same thing and just split it into 3 different completely windows that I can move around and maybe put on another screen if I like. This one can stay right here, completely independent. That's my whim, right? In English. And then, wait a second, these are completely separated windows, but it works. I mean, you can maintain state, everything is written with React, I can take snapshots, everything is worked as expected, but it's standalone, different windows. How was I able to use React portals? And you won't see this example. I mean, correct me if you've seen this demo for the first time? Just nice, all right? Now, it's not because I know something that you don't. It's because once, well, it works for me. Once you focus on try to implement yourself some features and discover these tiny techniques, you can get superpowers. Now, what you see right now, it's not just for the demo. Just think about it. Same API. I'm going to share the code with you, yeah? But no external libraries, nothing fancy, just portals. But instead of providing the portal with a DOM element that exists on the same window, I'm creating a new window. No magic, but I was able to split my working application into different windows and different screens and maintain state with pure React, no libraries, nothing fancy. All right? If you think it's exciting, you can say, wow, whatever. You don't have to. I'm just trying to get something out of this. All right. We've seen this. All right. First of all, thank you. Thank you for being here. Evyatar Alush, which is best friend doing some magic on the other hole, but you choose me. Hopefully you get something out of it. For all of you that are actually scanning this QR, I didn't tell you to scan this QR. So right now you are targeted into completely different thing. So get ready. Your whole Facebook feed gonna be this, all right? I didn't tell you to do it. You decided to do it. Is there someone that didn't scan it? No, not yet. I've got 1 minute. Who did it? It's because I'm Mizrahi? No. That's the message today, all right? That's the message today. New versions, new APIs. Yeah, we haven't spoken about AI and everything, but eventually the bottom line, if you want to be very, very good with this library called React and being able to naturally implement features that split the applications into different screens with minimal amount of code, you have to understand the core. In order to understand the core, it's not to read the source code. Actually, reading the source code is very, very hard. It's literally take one hook, take one feature, try to implement it by yourself, and then go ahead and do your research, and then you can do this magic with React. All right. We already told it. I was near Kaufman, tech lead at Tikal. And if you're looking for some unique community, check out Techie Hike, community that I'm running for the last 3 years. And I'm going to be here around, so if you wanna see other stuff, go ahead. Everything you've just seen, available on my GitHub, with a lot of comments and much more. But if you find something missing, go ahead, talk with me. I'm more than happy to, to push this agenda. All right? Thank you.